Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be giving you my review of NWA Power Crockett Cup Part 2, AEW Dynamite, and MLW Blood and Thunder. Now, I will preface this by saying MLW hasn't done weekly shows in a while, so this is like one of their specials. I decided to cover it. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. I will try to get this all done as quickly as possible. I promise to try to keep it under an hour. We shall see. So we're going to start off with NWA Power Crockett Cup Night 2. It starts off with a Kylie Page, Natalia Markova hype video. That's going to be our main event a little later on. But to start up, we get our first match of the evening, and it's a Crockett Cup first round match, as we got Daisy Kill and Talos taking on the Nightmare Sid, which is Frank, the former, I forget what his name is, and Zion. So this is Austin Idol's group. And, yeah, this was a nice little back and forth, especially with Talos and Daisy Kill. Those two worked really, really well together. But then when the big guys came in, it kind of continued. Like, it was definitely didn't feel forced at all. And these two felt like big medium men slapping man meat, if that makes sense. One point we see Daisy Kill tag in. He goes for a dive. He gets caught by Frank, who pretty much attempts to choke slam him. But that gets blocked. Zion attempts the Z-clutch a couple of times, but each time it gets blocked. Eventually he does lock it in, but it gets broken up by Daisy. Big Talos fall away slam. Big boot. Talos then starts just choking Frank, which was very odd looking. Then Daisy Kill with an ankle lock, like, around the ring post, which, that looked interesting. Then Daisy Kill kicks him right into Talos. Further choke slam for the victory. And honestly, this was a really, really entertaining match. Frank and Talos do have some chemistry. Hopefully NWA works on it. We then get a Mike Mondo Slade hype-up video for their upcoming match in the Crockett Cup. Then we see like a little Joe Kazana promo. They're still in the Territory HQ with Kazana talking to Mason, whoever that is, saying there's no rules here, you don't boss me around, if this is wrestling, I'm out. Actually, this is Kenzie Page talking to someone else, saying, you see why... Oh, actually, no, that was, Silas Mason, that's who that was. Gets her up, interrupts, and then he kind of walks out. Then Joe says, you see why you need me here, the stuff we have to deal with. Then Mason kind of comes back, starts just screaming at Joe Kazana, then leaves again. Then he goes over some, Joe Kazana goes over some rules, including how he's going to have a limo to every NWA show, which is weird. So then we cut to Kenzie, who's sitting in the office somewhere, saying to, I want to say it's her significant other, it could be her sisters, saying, can we please just go? I don't want to be here listening to this. So then the other person, I'm not sure who that is, I'm sorry, saying, no, this is amazing, I'm going to work with it. And then you see Kenzie just roll her eyes, which, that's funny. We then get a recap of last week's main event for the NWA TV title. Then we go to a little Carson Drake promo, which, saying, I need some help. Last week I was robbed of the NWA TV title. Idol clearly didn't win. So I'm going to go right to the top. I'm going to go to Joe Kazana, and he'll give me back what's mine, and he'll do it by the book. So does this mean Carson Drake is joining up with the Country Gentlemen? Because, I don't know, I don't see it. Next, we kind of see a backstage photo shoot. Kylie Paige is doing some posing. I guess, hyping up her match with Markova. She then is told, alright, you're done. She walks kind of to the side, brings Markova in, takes a few pictures. Kylie comes back in with Markova saying, why are you still here? Kylie says, because I can. I'll see you later on in the ring and cause you pain. Kylie then slaps the heck out of Markova. And then Markova says, alright, may the pain begin. Which, that's going to be interesting. We then get another recap of EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth defeating Crazy Steve and Alex Misery. We then get a promo from Pastor CeeLo, who is the manager of EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth, who says, we got the Southern Six next week. You've never seen anything like the Overlord and the Big Man. You guys need to step up. So then we see Kenzie Paige and her significant other leaving the HQ. She says, oh, that's paid for by NWA. That's paid for. She then turns to her significant other saying, can you believe this? Joe would do this. Significant other says, no way. This isn't all his style. But I can tell you something isn't right here. Then Kenzie's, pointing out the prices of stuff. But it's clear we gotta be ready for Markova. While Kylie can handle herself, I just want to be ready just in case. I can't wait to see him next week. They are gonna lose. Bet on it. And then Kenzie finishes off saying, I just want to break something. So, yeah, it looks like this feud between the Country Gentlemen and the Page sisters might be continuing. But first, speaking of the Country Gentlemen, as they're here for their NWA, their Crockett Cub first round matchup against Mike Mondo and Slade. And I'm going to say this match was really, really good. Mondo painting a huge target on Casey Kazana. Both he and Slade pretty much trying to keep AJ out of the ring for the time being. Near the end, Joe then attacks Slade with his contract while the ref is distracted. Then AJ locks in a big old camel clutch. Then as that's going to commercial, we see a Kylie Paige hype up video, which was very weird. So we come back. Country Gentlemen are still at advantage. Then we see Tyler Franks, who I think that's who that was with Kylie. He's sitting front row. Joe then walks over to him. Franks offers him a couple of Cheetos that he's been snacking on. Joe takes the bag, dumps it on Frank's head. So Franks then jumps the railing, hits Joe Kezano with a low blow while he was up on the apron. Slade attempts the Slade lock, but that gets blocked. With KZ and Mike Mondo tagging in. They trade blows like they're super heavyweights. And then AJ hit the Rangoon's touch, which I don't know what that is. Only gets a 2 count. Couple of clotheslines from Mondo. Tags in Slade. Slade hits a cutter. Mondo hits gut check time. And then Slade locks in the Slade lock to win via submission. Definitely a very entertaining tag match. I definitely put it above the one we just had. But, yeah. Then we get a recap of the Kylie Page, Natalia Markova photo shoot situation that just happened. Then we get a Rhino hype video, which I can't wait to see him again. You then get highlights from BFT versus the Slime Balls from last week. And then we get the same promo the Slime Balls cut from last week. Like, it's the same place, it's the same lines. I don't get what's going on here. I guess this is like time filler. Then we get highlights of the match that just happened. And then we see a Joe Kezano promo saying, Tyler Franks cost the Country Gentlemen. We are mad. We are coming back and doing things by the book. So, yeah, it looks like the Country Gentlemen have a new target. We shall see if that holds. And finally, we got our main event for NWA. A no limits match, meaning we can have weapons, all kinds of stuff. We got Kylie Page taking on Natalia Markova. And right off the bat, they both go under the ring, get some kendo sticks, and just start whipping each other. Markova with an impressive leg sweep for a 2. Kylie getting out of it with a bite to the arm. Kylie with an impressive codebreaker into a hip toss. And then we go to an ad for a hype video for The Lost, which was very strange placement again. So we come back from commercial. We see Kylie setting up a table on the outside. Then Markova tosses her into a ring post. Kylie then grabs a couple of chairs, sets them up like lip to lip. Then Kylie grabs a keyboard and another chair. But then she gets back in the ring. Natalia Markova has a keyboard. And they just start dueling shots with it for a while. And then after a Markova kick, Kylie with a low blow, which I don't know if that actually hurts women, but it was effective here. Kylie then wraps a chair around the neck of Markova, hits a big old hip attack on it. Then Markova sets up the chair in the corner. Markova counters a suplex into the chair for a 2 count. Markova with a knee and then a drop kick. Then we see Kenzie's significant other, I guess, come out. He attempts to attack Markova. Markova hits a DDT on him through the table ringside. Gets back in. Kylie attempts a chair shot that whiffs. Markova with the beautiful destruction to pick up the win. And honestly, this was a really well-paced match. Happy this was the main event, because it was definitely a really solid show top to bottom. Yeah, we'll see what happens next week, because now Markova has a women's title shot against Kenzie. So, yeah, we're going to see what happens there. Very entertaining episode of Power. Again, looking forward to next week. We now move it to AEW Dynamite. We start off with a backstage MJF promo where he says, "Cowboy, you've refused to give me the title. I took one. You worry you won't see your loved ones. While I'm looking in the eyes of the devil, I'll send you back to hell where you belong. First time, you got lucky. The people pity you. Later, I'm going to end you." So, yeah, MJF still very on edge with the breakup of the Hurt Syndicate. And he's now taking it out on others, including our World Heavyweight Champion. Speaking of the World Heavyweight Champion, we got the former champion, Jon Moxley, going one-on-one against Speedball Mike Bailey. I believe they've had matches at like House of Glory and some other smaller promotions. But yeah, this is the first time on AEW. So very excited for this. Moxley definitely trying the low road to get the win, including some eye rakes. Attempts the Bulldog choke, but Bailey fights out. Bailey with an impressive drop kick. Moxley with a big boot into the eye poke. Moxley then tosses him outside, where Shafir attacks Bailey, while Mox has the ref distracted. This brings out Speedball Mike Bailey's partner, Kevin Knight, who gets in Shafir's face. Mike Bailey gets back in the ring. Moxley then goes to the outside and just gives Knight a big old slap. Knight then gets in Moxley's face long enough for Mike Bailey to recover, hit a dive on Moxley, and then tossing him right into the barricade. Gets him back in. Locks in some kind of submission. I'm not sure what it is. Moxley gets out of it by biting Mike Bailey and then doing the Pete Dunne finger snaps, which that looks horrific. Bailey eventually gets momentum back, hitting a shooting star press for a 2 count. He attempts a suplex that gets blocked. Moxley attempts to lock in a sleeper, but Bailey fights out of it. Bailey with some arm wringers into a shooting star from the top for a 2 count. Bailey then locks in an armbar, but Moxley fights out. Locks in a triangle, but Bailey counters out of it with a roll-through armbar. Moxley attempts a roll-up for a 1 count. Bailey with a big old knee drop. Then as he's going to the top rope, Yuta grabs Bailey. Moxley with a big boot and then an X-Plex. Then at that point, as Yuta's kind of taken aback, he's leaning against the guardrail, Darby Allin kind of grabs him using that same rag he took out Moxley with, grabs him and just runs him out of the arena. Yeah, that's kidnapping there, Darb. Moxley seeing this, he's a little distracted. Bayley with a roll-up for a 2 count. Bayley with a tornado kick, only gets a 2. Bayley locks in an armbar, but Moxley fights out. Moxley attempts the Bulldog choke, but I guess he thought otherwise, hitting the Death Rider for the Moxley win. Moxley then rolls out of the ring and chases Darby Allin with Marina Shafir in tow, as Kevin Knight checks on Speedball Mike Bailey in the ring. Now, before we go to this next bit, we got an Alex Windsor interview along with Timeless Toni Storm, with Windsor saying, "I've prayed for times like these, had to kick me to the back road to beat me. You can't beat us down. You can't whack us off. That's Tony." So this is back to Windsor, who said something about wet ink. I didn't quite catch it. "You want to do this tonight? Let's tango." So as soon as that interview ends, we cut to the parking lot with Mox and Yuta walking up to a white body bag, which, uh-oh. So Mox and Shafir walk up to it. Darby Allin then drives by in a big old SUV. Takes one look at him, nods, drives off. Moxley opens the body bag with Yuta having a challenge to Moxley for Forbidden Door. I don't think stapled to his head. It looked like it was taped to his head. So, yeah, looks like we're getting Darby versus Mox for Forbidden Door, which is very, very strange, because usually Forbidden Door is about cross-promotion, having, you know, New Japan versus AEW. Which is, I mean, I'm not saying no to this match, but I'm surprised they're doing it this soon. So anyway, we get an attempt at an interview from Mercedes Moné, who is just arriving to the arena. She is wearing like half of the title she has, like as a skirt, which is a very interesting look. So the Renee, who is the interviewer, tries to ask her about her loss to Toni Storm. Monet pushes the mic down, says, "Don't be such a mark," and then just walks off. Honestly, that was all that was needed. At least from me. We'll see what Mercedes has coming for... Oh yeah, they got that 4-way coming. That's right, because next match, we got a fatal 4-way match to see who represents AEW at Forbidden Door for the TBS title. Our participants, we got Queen Aminata, Sky Blue, Alex Windsor, and Billy Starks. A nice little combination of people here. But who joins the commentary booth? Of course, it's Timeless Toni Storm, who gets her full entrance and everything. And honestly, this match started out really, really well. But then it just kind of got a little weird. Like, there is definitely some... I don't want to say confidence issues, but there's some issues a little bit with Alex Windsor. She's a little awkward. But ultimately, we do end up getting a fine match, including, like, near the end, we got Sky Blue going for a Code Blue off the middle rope. That gets... Actually, she hits that for a 2 count. Windsor with a reverse DDT into a senton. Queen Aminata with a backbreaker for a 2 count. But Sky Blue, who brought in some chairs, hits chair shots on everybody. She then sets it up in the ring, sits Queen Aminata down into it, attempts the Code Blue, that gets blocked by, intercepted by Windsor, who hits a reverse DDT on Sky Blue onto the chair. Aminata with a suplex and then a big boot. Windsor with a couple of clotheslines. Then this brings in Athena attempting to get into the ring, but Timeless Toni Storm gets up from commentary and gets her out. Sky Blue attempts a suplex. That gets blocked. Into a roll-up for your winner, Alex Windsor. I'm all about that. Let's give her a big push. Then as she's celebrating, out comes Mercedes Moné. She has the referee get between the ropes for her. She then takes off every individual title, hands it to the referee, and then has a stare down holding the TBS title in Windsor's face. Then at that point, Toni Storm attempts to get in the ring. I guess she and Moné have some unfinished business. Athena gets back up, hits the old face on Toni Storm. Backstabber by Moné on Alex Windsor. So, yeah, we definitely got some interesting build-up for Forbidden Door. These two matches should be absolutely great. And then we see, honestly, one of the best things on the show. We got the Young Bucks. They're all dressed up in their Founders gear, which, honestly, that looks amazing, for an interview, saying to the camera, "We're still the Founding Fathers here in AEW. We're your tag team. You treat us with respect, and if not, heads are gonna roll." So then they see someone from production walking behind. They say, hey, come here. We got some notes for you. So Nick brings out like a sheet of paper. Not even a sheet. It's like a crumpled up little bar napkin. He says, "Look, I want you to go to the ring announcer. Tell him to read this exactly as we wrote it. And we're going to get the respect we deserve." So then, before that happens, we get Kyle Fletcher and the rest of the Don Callis family coming out. But then we see a couple extras holding like it looked like a oh god, how do I explain this? It's like a stretcher, but without the wheels. And on it are the Unified title, the International title, and the Continental title that Okada holds. So he's not there. So they get in the ring for an Kyle Fletcher interview. Don Callis then grabs the mic, says, "Look, I didn't want to interrupt, but the real question everyone's asking, why am I building the largest faction in wrestling? And I'll answer, it's for power. Cast your eyes on the gold. Since Okada has aligned with me, he's brought in 3 separate titles. And Fletcher, just this past Saturday, brought the TNT title with him and retired a legend. So Kyle Fletcher finally gets a chance to talk, says Dustin Rhodes got exactly what he deserves. That 60-year-old man doesn't deserve to share a ring with me. And just like that, we'll never see Adam Cole again. All thanks to me. I may have finally achieved my destiny, but this is only the beginning of my legacy, and any man who wants to step up will suffer the same fate as I become the greatest of all time. So Don Callis then grabs the mic again, says, I know you'll be the greatest of all time, but now I got something to show you. I made some art by hand for you. But I got a question for you. How bad do you want to see it? Then we see Fletcher kind of begging. Then we see Callis unveil the art. And it's exactly how you think. It's Kyle Fletcher wearing nothing but the TNT title. So a la Shawn Michaels like 100 years ago. And then you see Don Callis right behind him. No shirt. 8-pack abs. And it's like he's wrapping the title around both of them. Which is just very, very creepy. Post that reveal, they have a little embrace. Fletcher continues, it's beautiful. I owe all of this success to you. And I'm going to do the family proud. I'm going to be a fighting champion. Not for these people, but for you here in the ring. For the family. So my first defense is this Saturday on Collision. It doesn't matter who shows up. It'll all end the same. And I will be the TNT champion for a very long time. I loved this promo. Like, I know the picture stuff was a little creepy, but this promo really set Kyle Fletcher in the direction he should be. And that's the main event. I think Kyle Fletcher is going to end up being AEW champion sooner rather than later. Anyway, after that, we get a recap of the Copeland Stokely Hathaway situation that happened a number of weeks ago, actually. So then we cut to an Adam Copeland interview saying, I don't wish that. The guy came out with zero remorse. I don't know what he's like for years, but I can't get within feet of FTR. So next week, I went to Tony Khan. It's going to be Cope versus Stoke. And if either member of FTR interfere, your restraining order is null and void. So you have a choice. Let Stoke get beat up or face me down the line. So yeah, Cope acting a little smarter than usual. That's very cool. So now comes my favorite part of the evening. The last semifinal round for the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. We got Brodito, so that's Brody King and Bandito, taking on the Young Bucks. Now, before the match gets started, Young Bucks make their entrance. However, the Tron part of where they come up kind of gets stuck about halfway. So you see the Bucks kind of looking under. What gives? So they kind of try to lift it for a second. Then they roll underneath it. The regular music is playing at this point. They hit their, pose on the on the ramp. We hear pyro go off, but then we don't see it, which scared the heck out of me. Then we see a little just single pyrotechnic go off. They get in the ring, and now I didn't see the graphic that was used for the Bucks, but apparently it didn't say Matt and Nick. It said Max and Jeremy, which, if you don't know, back in the day, the Young Bucks were in TNA during the Hulk Hogan era, and their names were Max and Jeremy Buck, and as a team they were called Generation Me. And if you want matches to look up from that era, any of their matches with the Motor City Machine Guns were some of the best tag team wrestling I've ever seen. No offense to Beer Money, no offense to AMW or Triple X. That was tag wrestling at its best. Oh, and the ring announcer definitely read Matt and Nick's notes verbatim, including the punctuation, which made him sound like an AI bot, which was funny as hell. Anyway, match finally gets started. Bandito starts off, and he looks like he is really keeping up with the Young Bucks, and that's awesome. At one point, you see both Bucks sat in a chair ringside. Brody King with a big crossbody to both of them. Gets them back in the ring. Bandito with a big crossbody off the top. Only gets a 2. Then Bandito tags in Brody, and he just goes off on both the Bucks, who eventually get advantage with Nick tagging in, hitting a shooting star, Matt hitting a frog splash, only for a 2. And they're just trying everything they can to get the big man down, including a sliced bread, which I haven't seen that in a while. Right into a super kick for a 2 count. Max attempts a rolling senton, but that gets blocked. Brody with some fights out of the Young Bucks corner. Tags in Bandito. He goes for his usual military press slam, but that gets blocked by an interfering Nicholas. Then Matt with an X Factor, moonsault senton combination for a 2 count. Then Bandito with a low bridge, a baseball slide, super kick, senton combination, and then a big dive to finish it off. Gets him back in. Bucks were about to hit the EVP trigger, but they couldn't get it together because they can't call it that anymore. Bandito then breaks out of it, hits a big Rana. Big hot tag to Brody King, who hits some splashes, a cannonball. Tags Bandito back in. Brody then takes out Nick on the outside. Bandito with a frog splash for 2. Bandito goes for a big splash that misses. Nick with a crossbody, and then super kicks for all. Matt goes up top for, I want to say it was a TK driver, but he gets knocked off the top by Brody. Bandito with a superplex. Brody goes for a big splash that misses. Matt with a big destroyer. And then more super kick party. Then Bucks hit the TK driver for a 2 count. Brody with a DDT on the apron. Bandito attempts a DDT on his own, but that gets caught. Into a Death Valley driver on the apron. Brody then tosses Nick over the barricade to the outside. Bandito with a super kick and then a military press slam off the barricade back to ringside. Bandito gets Nick back in, hits the X knee, hits the 21 plex for a 2 count. Brody then tosses Matt to the outside again. Brody with a big old dive. Bandito with a Spanish fly off the top for a 2 count. Then Brody gets himself set up to upkick Bandito into a senton splash for your winners. Brodito moving on to the finals to take on FTR. That match was absolutely fantastic. The messing with the Young Bucks during the entrance will always get a chuckle out of me because they've kind of deserved it for a while now. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy Brodito won. I can't wait to see what the finals look like. Dang, that's going to be interesting. Then we see a recap of the MJF Mark Briscoe situation from last week. We then get a Hurt Syndicate interview minus MJF with MVP taking the lead saying, "This tournament has been magnificent. I give the best wishes to the final 2 because whoever wins, we are waiting to hurt them." At that point, MJF walks in, but then Lashley and Benjamin walk out. So MVP turns to MJF, says, "With all due respect, you deserve that." So MJF's like, I don't care, but together we can get back my... And before he can continue, MVP puts up his finger. Says, you don't get it, do you? To join a syndicate, we hurt people. But you're talking me. So it is what it is. My last act of kindness, I'm going to give you some advice. If you fail, that'd be the best thing for you. But if you succeed, Lashley is coming for you, and it won't just be for business, it'll be personal. Oh. Like, I feel like this is what we've been building to for a while. This MJF Bobby Lashley match. Although, I am surprised we are speedrunning this. Like, it feels like MJF would have been a solid fit in the Hurt Syndicate. But why he's out now is just so odd. I don't know. I feel like maybe someone said something about something. I don't know. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. So next up, we got an FTR interview with Stokely taking the lead, saying, "As if I don't have stress enough, I got you banned for your health. We know your game, Cope. And while he's the bigger man, we are done with you. I can't believe you've chosen to do this. I'm injured, and I am not a wrestler. Adam, you're nothing more than a bully. And next week, the fight continues because that's what my boss asked of me. So next week, after I beat you, you're going to go home and tell that family that Big Stoke pinned you just like that." So Stokely with some big energy. I don't expect that match to go very long. This is going to be a very big beating. We then get highlights from Swerve Strickland and Okada and their interactions they've had over the past couple weeks. Then we get a Swerve Strickland interview. He's backstage. And he says, I don't have much to be concerned about. When Don was ringside, me and Nana beat him down. And Okada, I'm going to put you down on Forbidden Door. And what do you... the last time I competed at Forbidden Door, I put Ospreay down. What do you think I'll do to you? And everything they say is true. They say you're a generational talent. Well, while that may be, there will never be another Swerve. And on 3 different occasions, Okada came at me, and I put the fear of God into it. And this is not just a big match for AEW. This is a big match for you. Because you're facing the most dangerous man in AEW. And this isn't about you. This is about my redemption too. I lost 2 big matches in the UK. But beating Okada, winning the title, seeing Don Callis cry ringside, it is my goal. So, Swerve, yeah, picking its targets well. Then we go somewhere else backstage for a Mark Briscoe interview. And he's saying, the time for words is behind us. Tonight you will pay for your sins. This brings in Hangman Page a little early, saying, what, it's been 14 years now. You've been having a pretty bad year. And decided every day the past few years, if you win, you can challenge for my AEW World title. So they share a handshake. Hangman walks off. And then we just see Mark Briscoe mean mugging for the camera, which gets me every single time. So then we go to a 3rd interview in a row. This time it's Queen Aminata. And she's saying, last time I faced, this brings in Willow Nightingale. She says, hey partner, this Saturday we're going to be taking out Sky and Hart. And we're going to do it as buddies. And then this brings in Chris Statlander. And she says, I've been here for me now. I'm here for you. We're going to win matches and straighten up. This is actually Willow now. Win those matches and straighten up. Then you can talk to me. She then kind of directs Queen Aminata out of frame. So definitely still some tension between Statlander and Willow. We'll see how that goes. So next up, we got our main... Is this the main event? Yeah, this is the main event of the evening. I think this is like the 3rd week in a row Mark Briscoe has main evented. We got MJF taking on Mark Briscoe. And Briscoe attempts the J Driller very early. MJF counters out of it, hitting an eye rake on Mark Briscoe. Mark attempts the Froggy Bow, but MJF moves. Mark goes for a dive, but MJF moves again. So Mark stops himself. Then it looks like MJF is about to escape through the crowd, but Mark gets him back in. Mark Briscoe with some big strikes that knocks MJF out of the ring, who tries to crawl away. Mark Briscoe then with a neck breaker. Mark Briscoe then grabs a table. Apparently this is a no DQ match. He sets it up, tosses MJF into the ring post, sets him on the table, goes up for the Froggy Bow. MJF then moves. Mark Briscoe goes for a move in the corner. MJF then pulls the referee in the way, then kind of pushes him out of the way. Big old eye poke into some stomps. Goes for a suplex that gets blocked by Mark Briscoe. Briscoe then with a cutter for a 2 count. MJF with a combination back rake and then like a nose rake, if that makes any sense. MJF with a suplex, then locks Mark Briscoe into an abdominal stretch, in which Mark breaks out. They go back and forth a little bit more. Mark Briscoe attempts the Froggy Bow again. MJF then rolls to the outside, where Mark hits a big old elbow drop on the outside. Gets MJF back in, goes for the Froggy Bow again, but MJF rolls away again. He's in the corner, eats a cannonball from Mark Briscoe. Then MJF is set on the table. Mark Briscoe gives him a few clubbing bros. Mark Briscoe again goes for the Froggy Bow, but MJF rolls back into the ring. MJF with an Alabama Slam, locking in the Boston Crab, which that looked impressive. But Mark Briscoe fights out, hits a roll up for a 2. MJF attempts the Heat Seeker, that gets blocked. Mark Briscoe hits the Froggy Bow. Goes up for the Froggy Bow again. MJF knocks Mark Briscoe off the top. Then MJF with a pile driver off the second rope. Only for a 2. MJF then just bites on the head of Mark Briscoe. Hits an uppercut. Mark Briscoe with an uppercut. Hits the Froggy Bow finally for a 2 count. MJF then set on the table again. Mark Briscoe flies for the Froggy Bow through the table. MJF rolls off at the last minute. Briscoe goes through the table. So then MJF gets back in the ring. He's telling the ref to count. Mark beats the 10 count. MJF with a knee hits the Heat Seeker. Then as he's pinning Mark Briscoe with the 1, the 2, before his hand reaches the mat the last time, Mark gets his foot on the rope. However, the ref didn't see it, so he counts to 3. And at that point, MJF is like, So he just takes the win. He attacks MJF post-match. Then he goes in the corner, puts on his Dynamite Diamond Ring. KO punch to Mark Briscoe. And this brings out Hangman Adam Page, in which they brawl for a little bit until officials break them up. MJF then looks like he leaves through the crowd. Hangman then checks on Mark Briscoe. Hangman then goes after MJF. They continue their brawl. Officials then try to break them up again. They brawl back to ringside. And it looks like Hangman is about to hit the buckshot. He lands it, but MJF rolls out of the ring and bails. So, yeah, I'm going to say this. That was definitely a very weird finish, but I kind of dig it. Like, it's just different enough to make me feel like, okay, we'll be seeing more of this in the future. I mean, there's no way Mark is just going to take this loss. He's going to want a little revenge, which I'm definitely all for. Definitely a pretty average episode of Dynamite. Not saying it was bad, but it was still pretty goddamn entertaining. Definitely looking forward to seeing what next week brings, but also what Forbidden Door brings. because that should be interesting. And we are not done yet, my friends, as we are finishing up with MLW Blood and Thunder. Now, like I said at the top of the hour, this is a... MLW doesn't really do Fusion anymore, which is their usual weekly stuff. They're just kind of doing monthly specials, which I don't mind at all. So we start off the show with Ricardo Rodriguez. I honestly forget what they are calling him now. Who, if you remember, did ring announcing for Alberto Del Rio. So he introduces the authority for MLW. We got Cesar Duran and Salino de la Renta. With Cesar starting us off saying, "I love this city. We prepared a card worthy of the Big Apple. Show me you love pro wrestling." He tries to start an MLW chant, which he kind of gets. Then Salino de la Renta takes the microphone saying, "Expressive, expensive, I make that money. Together we are strong, smooth, and dangerously addictive. And we are here to make history, where tonight we're kicking off the Opera Cup, and there's not going to be just one, not just two, but 3 first-round matches tonight." So Cesar Duran grabs the microphone again, saying, "And speaking of Mystico and Kwan, the middleweight title has been vacant for far too long, so we're going to crown a brand new champion at Fightland." If you don't know this story, Mystico actually vacated the title initially due to injury, and then Akira Kwan just kind of claimed it. Attacked Mystico to claim the title. So it's not technically his title, but he does carry it around. We'll see that a little later. So, yeah, definitely a hype-up opening. I dig Cesar Duran. He's just such a charismatic douchebag, and I love him for it. Anyway, first things first, we got a 6-man scramble match. And I believe this is a number 1 contenders match, I believe. So our participants, we got former openweight champion Matthew Justice. We got former tag team champion Okumura. We got advisor to former world heavyweight champion Mr. Thomas. We got newcomer Ariel Dominguez. We got former member of the Rogue Horsemen C.W. Anderson. And then we got the winner of the high-flying ladder match, so he can cash that in wherever he wants, Mads Kruger. And, yeah, this was pretty much balls to the wall right out the gate, including a spot where we see Mr. Thomas and Kruger just slugging it out. Then Ariel Dominguez comes in, just starts chopping them both. So they both pick him up, attempt a military press slam on him. C.W. Anderson spears them both, so he drops them. Then they brawl to the outside. Then Matthew Justice picks him up, hits a Death Valley driver to him off the apron through the rest of his opponents. And yeah, this match was absolutely nuts. We even had a Tower of Doom spot, which, that was crazy. And to finish it off with what I can only describe as a Bubba Bomb for Mads Kruger to pick up the win. Yeah, I don't know what he calls that finisher, but I'm always just going to call it the Bubba Bomb, because that's what Bubba Ray Dudley used as a singles finisher. So then we see Cesar Duran. He's in his office. He's filling out whatever. Then Selena De Laurenta walks in, and she's got like this little box. So she turns to Cesar, says, "Oh, this came in the mail for you. You should see what's inside." So he opens it up, reaches in, takes out a key to what could be a lockbox. So Cesar puts a big old smile on his face, says, "I think we're going on a trip. It's time for you to prepare for a grand adventure." So I guess we're going to be seeing the Duran clan go on some quest. So if you don't know, Cesar Duran used to be in charge of this promotion called Lucha Underground. I completely forget what his name was, but he has this beast in tow called Monster Mazda, I believe his name was. He was played by Jeff Cobb. Although that was revealed like a few pay-per-views ago, actually. So I'm wondering if this is like the introduction of a new monster, maybe? But I'm not sure. So then we get an ad. This weird ad for this. I want to say it's a made-up tequila company, but I looked it up. That shit's real. I thought this was some introduction to some new luchador we've never heard of. But yeah, it was an ad. We then get an Opera Cup hype video, which that was really cool. We then get a recap of the openweight title match from Summer of the Beasts between Matthew Justice, Hammerstone, and Ultimo Guerrero. And we get a backstage promo from Matthew Justice saying, "Hammer, you left. I've been here waving the MLW banner this entire time. You think you can just walk right in and get yourself a title? If you want some, come get some. Buy a ticket and take the ride." I love that little catchphrase he has. I think it works well for him. Put that on a t-shirt because I think I might buy it. So next up, we got this weird stipulation match. It is a lightning match in which there's a 10-minute time limit and the only way to win is pinfall and submission. Our combatants for this matchup, we got Paul London, who I am so surprised to see is still going, and CMLL's own Neon. Now, at a CMLL show a couple months ago, these two wrestled to a draw. So this is their second match in as many weeks. And honestly, Neon was trying to make this matchup go quick. London was really trying to take his time, including locking in a crossface at like the 5-minute mark. Neon breaks out, hits a senton, locks in a... But then London locks in a camel clutch. Neon fights out of it. Hits a couple of kicks, only gets a 2 count. Paul London then with a big old boot. Then he gets pushed up the top rope. Neon with an enziguri. Attempts a superplex, but that gets blocked. London with a drop kick. At this point, we see Paul Walker-Hausen leave the commentary booth as Paul London hits a dive, gets him back in. Neon with a moonsault for a 2 count. At that point, we see Paul Walker-Hausen make his way to ringside. Paul London attempts a frog splash, but Neon, a la MJF, rolls away. Neon with a big boot hits a 2 count. London with a roll-up for a 2 count. London with a big old meaty clothesline for a 2. Attempts a moonsault that gets blocked. Neon attempts a superplex that gets blocked. Neon then with a big old senton in which London rolls to the outside with just a few minutes left. Neon then strikes. London gets him back in. We are at the 5-second mark. Neon then struggles to the pin. Ref counts 1, 2. Time runs out. So we got another time limit draw. And then at that point, London just snaps. He attacks Neon post-match. And then as he's leaving, he pushes past Paul Walker-Hausen on his way out. So then we get highlight package from both Mystico and Akira Kwan. And then a Volador Jr. hype video. Can't wait to see him. It's been a while since I've seen Volador Jr. Next up, we get our first match of the opening round of the Opera Cup. We got Bishop Dwyer, formerly known as Baron Corbin, taking on Anthony Green. It has definitely been a while since I've seen Anthony Green. And honestly, I thought this match was going to be a squash. Anthony Green definitely brought it to Bishop Dwyer, including kicking out of a deep six, which that was impressive. Bishop with a body slam. Misses on a clothesline. Green with a couple of chops, then a jawbreaker, hits a big old drop kick, finishes off with a crossbody for a 2 count. Green with a Dwyer with a super kick, deep 6 for a 2. Green attempts a roll up for a 2 count. Dwyer with a big shoulder, clothesline over the top. Green attempts a crossbody. Dwyer with the end of days to pick up the win and move on in the tournament. That match was so dang good. I want to see someone legitimately sign Anthony Green. He is so underrated, it's not even funny. So then we get a Matt Riddle versus Donovan Dijak hype video. Then we see Shotzi arriving in the arena. She has a big old cast on her wrist. So next match was supposed to be for the MLW heavyweight title. You see Matt Riddle versus Dijak. So we see Dijak and Mr. St. Laurent make their entrance. St. Laurent grabs a mic, saying, "With NYC deteriorating, you don't deserve to see Dijak in action. But since we're here, Dijak is going to give you some words of wisdom on Riddle." So St. Laurent passes the microphone to Dijak, with Dijak saying, "Riddle, you're MLW champion. Wow, some great representation, but I got some advice for you. You need to stop filming your OnlyFans and get out here and lose that title to me." So MSL goes into a Paul Heyman state, saying, "Disrupt, destroy, dethrone, repeat." On repeat until Riddle's music hits, but he doesn't come out. It hits again, no Matt Riddle. Instead we see Riddle laid out backstage with a Contra flag on it. Next thing we know, we see Mads Kruger carrying Riddle on his back, dumping him into the ring. But then Dijak goes after Kruger and they brawl on the stage for a little bit. Dijak then hits a chokeslam on Kruger through a well-placed table on the ramp. Then Kruger just gets up. And the brawl continues. They brawl into the back. We're going to see about that a little later. But first, we're going to check back in with Cesar Duran and Selena De La Renta. With Selena saying, what am I going to do with my daggers? And Cesar saying, it's going to be what it's going to be. Then at that point, Saint Laurent walks in. He's all in a huff, saying, what a travesty. Did you see what happened out there? So Cesar turns to Mr. Saint Laurent, says, okay, we'll do Dijak versus Riddle 3 at Fightland, which is going to be their next show in September, I believe. So, well, I'm disappointed we didn't get the match. We definitely got an interesting setup. So next up, another opening round match for the Opera Cup. This time we got Bobby Fish. Yes, that Bobby Fish. Taking on Satoshi Kojima, former MLW World Champion. And this was definitely more like a classic wrestling match. They went back and forth really well. With Bobby Fish trying to get Kojima to submit the entire time. One point we see Kojima hit the Cozy Cutter. Attempts the Lariato, but Fish blocks it. Hits a suplex for a 2 count. Then hits Kojima with a leg whip. Locks in the sleeper hold. Eventually Kojima fights out. They trade elbows, which is crazy. Bobby Fish attempts a suplex. That gets blocked into a brainbuster by Kojima for a 2 count. And then he hits the Lariato for the victory and moving on. Then out comes Okumura out to celebrate with his usual tag team partner. Then Kojima picks up a microphone, says, thank you for the bread, in which I actually forgot about this. The entire crowd is throwing bread in the arena, into the ring, which, that's hilarious. So Kojima continues, please don't try this at home. Thank you. And yeah, a nice little funny anecdote from Kojima. We then see Kruger and Dijak brawling around the arena, brawling around backstage. Dijak then pushes Kruger into one of the cameramen, in which that's definitely going to be interesting. We then have a small Fightland card rundown, in which only 2 matches really right now. We'll probably see something online about some more matches coming. Speaking of matches coming, we get our lone women's match of the evening as Ava Everett, who is a former WXW women's champion that's over in Germany, taking on, making her MLW debut, Shotzi Blackheart. If you don't know her, she was the woman with the green hair that usually rode in a tank to the ring in WWE. So, yeah, Ava Everett takes advantage early, clearly targeting Shotzi's wrist, which has a cast on it. Ava with a crazy DDT, and then takes off her skirt and ties it over Shotzi's eyes. Tosses her into the ring post. Ava gets back in, but Shotzi beats the 10 count. They trade strikes. Ava with a big bulldog and then a cannonball for a 2 count. Shotzi with a suplex for a 2. Shotzi attempts sliced bread, but that gets blocked into a backcracker for a 2 count. Ava goes for the big boot, misses. Shotzi takes her down, locks in the crossface for the submission win. So, nice win for Shotzi. It's clear where her aspirations are. She's going for gold. We then see Dijak and Kruger brawling up some steps, and it looks like they're heading for the roof. Again, cameraman gets bumped. So we'll see what happens in this situation in a little bit. But first, we got our main event and our last of 3 opening round Opera Cup matches. As we got Akira Kwan, who currently holds the middleweight title but isn't champion, taking on the former champion, Mystico. And oh boy, this was a crazy back and forth match. Kwan is a lot better than I thought he was, including at some points going after Mystico's mask, trying to rip it off. Mystico stops him. Mystico with an impressive handspring elbow into an enziguri, hits a cross body. Rana, big dive to the outside, gets him back in, hits a splash for a 2 count, goes for a moonsault, misses. Kwan with a roll up for a 2, attempts a senton, that misses. Mystico with a couple of suplexes for a 2. Hits an impressive Shining Wizard for a 2 count. They trade strikes again. Kwan with a couple of clotheslines. They trade kicks. Then at that point, we see Kruger and Dijak make it. They're brawling on just inside the door where the outside roof is going to be. We come back to the ring. They're still kicking the stuffing out of each other. Mr. Lowe gets Akira Kwan on the top rope. Hits a big old Spanish fly off the top to pin and win. And so Mystico, post-match, grabs the mask that Kwan stole from him like months ago. But then Kwan goes outside the ring, grabs the middleweight title, and then goes to leave. The referee tries to stop him. Then Kwan with some mist, some Japanese-style mist to the referee's eyes, and then he just leaves. So then we see that was definitely a really, really fun matchup. I do wish they were giving a teeny little bit more time, because I wanted to see La Mystica. Although I guess he's saving that for the final. So then we see Dijak and Kruger make it up to the roof. They're brawling. Dijak then grabs Kruger, and it seems like tosses him over the roof to the floor, over the edge. Then Dijak and the camera look over the edge. There's no blood, there's no splatter, there's no Kruger. Then you hear Dijak walking back inside saying, "Where is he? Where did he go?" to finish the show. So yeah, we got potentially attempted murder. But yeah, definitely building up a feud between Dijak and Kruger. Yeah, I'm in for that. So that's my week in pro wrestling. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I think either coming this Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to give an overall review for MCU's 5th phase. Hopefully you stay tuned for that. Then Monday I'll be doing this again. Maybe I'll do this on Friday. Yeah, hopefully you guys tune in for this. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.